Hi, welcome to Breaking New Ground, where we do our best to help you understand government-provided housing. I'm Eric Mieni. Backyard shacks have been a part of South African township life since the housing shortages of the 1980s. People built structures in their backyards to accommodate the influx of those who came from the then homelands and, in many cases, to accommodate their own expanding families. This does not mean that there are no problems with these backyard dwellings. They are often badly built with bad toilet facilities, offering their tenants very little more than just a roof over their heads. But encouragingly, a vastly increasing number of people are seeing the benefits of upgrading these shacks into better living structures that can generate more income through rent. And the government is coming on board with this and thus helping improve more people's living conditions. Here in Orlando East, in Soweto, the government is offering financial assistance to all potential backyard landlords to turn their backyards into good rental accommodation that can be used to generate more income for themselves through rent and provide better accommodation for their tenants. Take a look at this.
Orlando is one of the finest townships created in the outskirts of Johannesburg in the 1930s. Its primary role then was to provide accommodation for the huge workforce needed in the gold mining industry. Today, it is a densely populated area and a perfect location for those employed in the booming metropolis. Like in other urban centers around South Africa, many who live here do not own property and have for decades rented informal spaces in the backyards of other people's homes.
We estimate at the moment that there are approximately 1 million households living in backyard rentals. In the urban areas, that works out to about 750 to 850,000 households. And if you equate that by the number of people in backyard rental, it's probably in the order of 2.5 to 3 million people living in these conditions.
Ke na le dimo tse 54 ntse ke dulang ke ahile mekhukhu ena hobane e a nthusa ile mekhukhu e mebedi fela itse ke after ke tlhokalla ke di parents tsaka be ke bone hore ha sena thuso ke re ke kenye mekhukhu gore batho ba nthuse ke tswele pele ka bophelo.
Living conditions vary dramatically. I think that's the one important thing to understand about this market. You have people living in a 9 square meter tin shack with 17 other families on one property, and you have people living in extremely comfortable 2-bedroom, bathroom, kitchen arrangements in backyards. So it really varies from extremely bad to completely acceptable.
Mathata a mekhukhu e anela mo gare ka mo. And la go tshisa ba tswa ba dule ka montle yana ka mona yana go a tshaka mo gare wa tshisa jana tshwantse a tswele ka montle ga go nela pula tshwantse ba tswe ka mo gare mekhukhu ya kena mo madimo. Mathata hape a mekhukhu ke toilet ka re ba sebisa toilet A1 and ba bangata re bangata ina le go blockage le drain. Re batle batho ba lokisang the next day gape ntse ba yona ntwe gape mekhukhu e menyane yana ka o godula batho ba 3 ke ba shimane ba bararo monyane and then all ka mole ke family ya batho ba 6.
What backyard rental does is offers an amazing opportunity to really extend the types of housing that we're producing for different people in different housing situations. Specifically, those with smaller households, single women with children, small family units, people who might not be able to purchase housing, and so on. So in that sense, Breaking New Ground is much more supportive of the arrangements that provide for different types of accommodation in our urban areas.
Yvonne Mogoy is one landlord who has welcomed the intervention of the Department of Housing in upgrading her backyard rental space.
Igama lami Yvonne Mogoy. Ngina 40 years ngihlala kuleli khaya leli. I-rent yami ihamba kahle. And ukuqashisa ngiqala uqashisa ngo-1995. And nabo makhelwane bam siphilisana kamnandi. Ngoba nasestradini yimi ophethe incwadi zestradi. inkinga yabo angithi abanye baze ngomsebenzi abanye bathi bebhalisa indaba zokufunda utho ukuthi lengane lezi azinandawo zokuhlala edrobheni kuyadura kanti nabeza la elokushini kuba ngcono ngoba uze ngokufunda la eGoli abanye baza ngokuzosebenza ke utho ukuthi akanandawo yokuquba nje ukuthi nje besebenze ethola umsebenzi ngapha kanye kuza kanjalo ukuthi siqashisa abantu.
At the moment, there has not been a huge amount of movement on this front. Really, government has really been getting their thoughts around how best to implement changes in the backyard rental market. Work has been put into trying to assist in formalizing relationships between landlords and tenants, and a lot of work is now going into trying to assist local governments to find ways of facilitating the growth of all types of backyard rentals in their areas.
Akuthena ngifika la eoffice ngelanga elandeling after the meeting eDonki nangifika la ngaba unumber 1 ukuzobhalisa ngoba ngizwe kahle ukuthi kuyakhiwa ama room nangifika la ngiphethe title deed ngiphethe icopy yepasi ngiphethe icopy ye receipt rent and then ke bangibonisa ke izindlu ukuthi ngikhetha eyiphi indlu 3 or 2 bangibonisa izindlu zabo ukuthi zime kanjani ngase ngithi ngikhetha i2 room ngoba benginomkhukhu oyi2 room ngase ngakhelwa ke lo mkhukhu ngempela bafika ke bazoqhaqha ke bathi ngoqhaqhe ke bangakhela le 2 room senginayo namhlanje lendlu le i31 square meters ningangena nizoyibona le room leli li11 square meters libuye linezinki namanzi ishawa yami ngelena engezela kuyo ningangena nibone netoilet nayivuliwe sikwi room lesibini ke manje nalo ninezinki nalo linespace esikahle nali 11 square meters lilingana lelinye isiqale ngalo into engiyengayenza ke ngafaka umbane ngoba nginabantu abahlala la emarumini ngase ngifaka amabhadla ngoba yasebenza abantu ukuthi isecurity ngase ngifaka neceiling ukuthi kubuke ukuthi umuntu usendlini ngoba kuyitina ngase ngiya broadcaster ke la ngaphandle lama backrooms angisiza ngokuthi ngikwazi ukuhlanganisa nemali yama lights ngikwazi ukuthi ngihlanganise nemali yokubhadala umasipala namanzi usibongile ingane yami sengimthethe njengomntana ngendlela siphilisana kahle ngakhona siphilisana ngathi siyifamily ngoba nangisikhathi asihleli ngaso uhleli isikhathi eside nami usibongile from 96 ngoba ngifuna ukuthi ezubhlungu naye akafuna ukuthi ngizubhlungu.
The good thing about backyard rental accommodation is that it is primarily driven by people who own houses. So it is a private individual initiative to put that infrastructure onto your property in order to earn a rental return. Government can do a huge amount in all urban areas to put the frameworks in place, the controls and the laws and the facilitation to ensure that people are able to then use that private initiative to grow the sector wherever there is a demand. And essentially, with the housing shortages South Africa faces, almost every urban area in the country does face a demand for this sort of accommodation.
Welcome back and thank you for watching Breaking New Ground. We've come to the YMCA in Orlando East to talk about rental space in backyards. To help me do this, we have Mpumi Kupega, who is the manager for the housing sub-region in Johannesburg North. We have Ibrahim Nati, who is the regional manager for Tubelisha. It's an implementation agency for the housing department. Of course, you've met Mukhwai, and we also have Ward Councillor Vusinene. Welcome. Now let me start with you, Mpumi. What is the policy that informs backyard rental space right now?
Yes, the program is currently implemented under Affordable Rental Scheme. It's a scheme that was introduced after the Premier made a pronouncement in his State of the Province address in 2004 program.
Yeah.
The motherboard of that program is called Alternative Tenure.
Why is government supporting this?
As a government, as we are starting to upgrade the townships. We looked at Orlando East as one of the areas that need to be assisted. So one way as a Department of Housing that we felt we could assist was to look at the informal settlement within these yards, to say how do we assist.
Well, as an implementer, you find 14 shacks in somebody's backyard. The likelihood is it's not one person per shack, it's a number of people per shack. Now, how do you provide the backyard accommodation that you're trying to do to that kind of setup?
That's exactly one of the challenges we've been facing. We find that contractors want to build in a particular stand, but unfortunately there is not enough space available. And even if there is space available, shacks have to be moved around. And it's very difficult to coordinate the activity of the contractor with the tenants that are living in the backyard.
It's probably a question of money. I mean, if I have 14 shacks in my backyard, the government wants to put in 3 rooms or 4 rooms, I lose income. What do you do in that instant?
There will be a time over which they will not get the income that they desire, but at the end of the day, the kind of accommodation is improving, and people are living under better conditions. So I think beneficiaries must weigh the two up. We also hope that because the landowners, through government, are providing a better structure, they can demand perhaps a little better rent, but obviously not too much, because that creates other problems as well.
Yeah. Now, how is the community responding to the idea of having structures at the back instead of these shacks at the moment?
The communities, especially the owners of the properties, they welcome this type of initiative, even though initially we used to face problems because there were some groupings that used to misinforming the communities to say the government is building the houses in their backyards so that they can get the monies or the rent. The rent will be paid to the municipal offices instead of the landlords to get that money, because the landlords are beneficiaries of those units.
Okay, so there were rumors that were not correct, that were creating. Have those been dispelled? Are people thinking, oh, so I can make the money from the rooms that the government is building, so it's okay?
The number of units that were supposed to be built, it's coming to a close. Now they're beginning to flock, and we're just hoping that we're going to have a second phase of this project.
Are you going to have a second phase of the project, Mpumi? I mean, you have a deadline. People are only now seeing the benefit. Are you going to extend it?
The response has been positive in Orlando. It's encouraging, and it makes us feel proud about the initiative. So it will be extended to other areas. Like I'm saying, the next one that we're targeting, it's Zola. If we're successful at Zola, probably, who knows, it might be rolled over to other areas as well.
Why? Did they make a lot of mistakes building your backyard rooms?
No.
Kuhle. Yeah.
Yebo kuyabukeka. Nami ngiyayithanda ngoba yindlu eyakhwe ngitina kunala shek bese ingena amanzi.
So ne rent uye wakwazi nokuyikhuphula kancane.
Ngikhuphula kancane ukuthi ngikwazi ukuthi ngirenovate ngoba leli bengaplasterwanga.
Yeah. Tell me, what do you build exactly?
We've got a contract with the Provincial Department of Housing to build 750 units. A unit comprises of either a 3-bedroom unit or a 2-bedroom unit with a communal bathroom and a toilet. We've constructed about 640 of the 750 to date. We're hoping to finish within the next month.
What does the beneficiary get?
It's a very basic unit, a room really, very much in line with the so-called RDP house. Not plastered, unfortunately. No ceilings, but a space to live in with a communal bathroom and water and sanitation.
Okay. And then the beneficiary then would add to that and make it better.
Yes.
And what's the biggest you are building at the moment?
It's a 3-bedroom unit. It's a 44 square meter unit.
Okay.
The 2-bedroom unit is a 31 square meter unit.
The government is obviously trying to create more living space for people. Now, one of the things that could happen is that the rental could skyrocket to a point where the very people you're trying to help are not actually benefiting because the landlords are now looking to be billionaires, you see?
It's not legislation, but that is how we work out the business plan to say if you want to target this particular market, the income level, you should not exceed 25% of that particular household income in terms of your rentals. If you are to increase the rentals even moving forward, you still need to keep within that.
Surely your policy should look into a cap of some kind.
We've got a unit that is looking at relationships between the landlord and tenant. It's called rental tribunal, housing rental tribunal. If the tenant feels that I'm not happy with what the landlord is doing to me, tenants are free to go to the housing department and lodge a case against the landlord. Same thing with the landlord. If the landlord feels he's being abused by a tenant, the landlord can do the same, go to the department and ask for the rental housing tribunal.
I know there's currently no policy, obviously, so, or is there a policy?
I know the BNG policy talks about doing research into backyard check upgrade. I think the Gauteng Provincial Department has gone a step further. They've actually implemented a project and hope to learn out of the implementation and inform policy. Okay. I think they must be complimented on that.
Yeah.
I think also it makes sense from the utilization of state resources point of view. Because you have a situation now where you're providing rental stock, it speaks to a need that exists in the community in the availability of rental stock. But it also saves the states a lot of money where the state does not have to buy land, it does not have to provide, budget for infrastructure to that land. So I think it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Well, on that note, we're going to take a short break. When we return, we'll meet a tenant as opposed to a landlord. So Memhwai, thanks for joining us for this episode of BNG. Please stay tuned. Welcome back. Now, before we carry on with our discussion, let's look at the tenant side of this story.
Igama lami ngusibongile Dlamini. Ngize la eOrlando ngo97 ngazoqhasha ukuthi bokungana impilo ekhaya ngazibona ukuthi ngcono ukuthi ngibhadale rent. Ngafika la ngo97 mina ngihlala emkhukhwini yena ngamshiya ekhaya ngamlanda after and umkhukhu sasihlala kuyi2 room now. Ufana nayo nala emarumini. Kwakumkhukhu right wona ngoba umam Yvonne kade awakhe kahle into nje bonganamanzi ngaphakathi. Wona wawu right wona. Ngiqhashe ngoba la ekhaya angakabi ready ukuthi ngiphume so njengoba ngiqhashile la ekhaya indawo ngabhalisa indawo so still ngisaku waiting ku list ngoba ngabhalisa ngo1996 ngisasuku waiting list until now so la ekhaya angakabi ready ukuthi ngiphume. Impilo ngesikhathi sihlala emkhukhwini yayi right khona kodwa bokungana amanzi manje lana sesajabula noma kunamanzi noma ufuna ukuya toilet uyakhona ukuphuma ungene toilet uvela uphume nje ungene toilet noma uphethe ufuna ukuphuza amanzi ebusuku uyakhona ukuvuka uthola amanzi la endlini ku right. Hayi nayo ijabulele kakhulu ngoba naye sekane room lakhe sekahlala ngale roomini lakhe naye wenza same lento esiyenza la ejardini. Ufezile nawe uyajabulela le ndawo ngoba naye sihlala sonke la ejardini ngoba naye sekane room lakhe yedwa bekangana room lakhe ngesikhathi sihlala ngalo sihlala soyithu embedeni oyi1 so naye uyajabulela.
Thank you for watching Breaking New Ground. Joining us in this section of the panel discussion is Bongile, who is a tenant, Umdaga Dlamini. Welcome to the show. Now, Ibrahim, looking at the first section of our discussion, one could easily argue that this is a landlord-driven program. What would you say to that?
It may seem like that. I think we need to guard against exploitation. I think that's important from a government perspective. But I think we must also allow market forces to dictate things. I don't think...
Market forces are dictating housing prices right now, and they're just going up and up and up all the way. Oh, I mean, market forces can be very evil.
Yes, they can, but I think you will find that if tenants do not agree with a certain rental, they'll just move away to other forms of. So I think we must allow those kind of things to develop in the community as we move on.
So you have faith in market forces?
I have faith.
You have faith in market forces, Mbongi?
Yeah, I mean, if you look at the rental scheme within the townships, it's been there for quite many years. And it's working well. It's just that government is coming in now to say, let's assist where we can.
Are you happy? Do you think the rent you're paying is fair and all of this? Okay. So lentes ezama ukukhuluma ngayo ukuthi kungafika isikhathi la umemkhwayi yabo sekeqala ukukhuphula kakhulu irent ngokubona kwakho igovernment akumelanga ingene lapho incede kancane ukuthi irent ingakhuphuki kakhulu ibe controlled.
No, singakhona uhlala phansi sibonisane mina naye angitshele then ngimbonise namabanga naye akubonisa wakhe amabanga.
Okay, so ngalokho ujabulile.
Jabulile too much ngalokho.
Coming back to this thing that you've got people who really don't have that many options. I mean, it's not like there's tons of well-built backyard rooms, so if this landlord is nasty, I'll just move to the next one who's nice. I mean, once you move out, you're on the streets. And I'm saying, what I'm picking up is that the government is trying to help people have better living conditions while they wait for better houses.
Yeah, we are trying to promote a number of rental schemes. It's not just going to be the backyard room rental program. We are introducing a number of other rental programs within the townships that will assist people to have options. Even a landlord, if your rentals are too high, obviously you'll start losing tenants. And we hope that landlords will be able to set the price correctly the first time, so that moving forward, you know, when you increase your rental on an annual basis, it's not more than 10% of the rent of that particular year. So the scheme is meant to benefit both the landlord and the tenant, because we know that the tenants are people who've got challenges socially. They also need to be helped and assisted by government. But we know our projects are happening, but they take time. So if you are temporarily housed in the backyard rental scheme, you've got a chance that to say you are living in a decent structure. As soon as your house becomes available where the project is happening, you move out. Another person will be able to move into that unit. It's not that you are going to live in that particular unit for life.
Yeah.
We are building on the other side, but we want people, while we are building, to have decent homes in the meantime.
How does one get this backyard upgrade? What are the technical requirements?
Basically, people have to qualify with two criteria. They have to be landowners, owners of the stand on which they live, and they have to be residing on the stand. Mm-hmm. So the normal qualification criteria for RDP houses do not really apply well. There's got to be an adaptation of that policy. The Gauteng Provincial Department have come to that realization, and they've started implementing those criteria.
Well, Mbongi, good luck with your wait for the RDP house.
Thank you.
I'm glad to see somebody really happy with something the government is doing. And thanks for coming on the show.
Thank you.
Well, that's it for today's edition of Breaking New Ground. From me, Eric Mieni, and the rest of the BNG team, thank you once again for watching. Join us again next time. And if you are getting these backyard rooms from government to rent to others, just remember, it's not all about the money. You need a little more compassion. Goodbye.